Hello and welcome to Winchester News Online. I'm Isabel Jones. Coming up today, finances causing trouble at Hampshire County Council. We take a trip on Winchester's night bus. And festive fever arrives in the city. Hampshire County Council leader Nick Adams-King has expressed his concerns on the financial pressures that his organisation is facing. Forecasting suggests that without sufficient budgeting or support, the local authority could go bankrupt as early as 2026. Councillor Adams has warned raising council tax above the 5% national threshold, but it seems his council are now taking more immediate measures in an attempt to reduce the pressure. Morgan Mitchener-Banks tells us more.
The pressures of the cost of living crisis have been felt nationwide, and local authorities across the country have been suffering just as much.
Currently, Hampshire County Council are in a very difficult position financially, as they face immense pressure with their budget.
Because of this, Hampshire County Council has begun offering their employees the Mutually Agreed Resignation Scheme, also known as MARS. Within this scheme, the council has offered their employees the opportunity to resign in return for payment and no effect on their pension scheme. A spokesperson for the council said the following in regards to the introduction of this scheme.
Every application will be considered individually against a set of criteria and will only be approved where we can see a way to successfully maintain the safe operation of our services. Mutually agreed resignation is quite different to redundancy. It gives us more flexibility, working alongside our staff, to make changes to how we work to improve efficiency and cost effectiveness.
However, the Hampshire branch of Unison, the Union for Public Service, has condemned the Hampshire County Council's offers. I reached out to them, and they provided me with the following statement explaining their criticism.
We're concerned about this move to fast-track staffing reductions without any consultation. After a decade of increasing demands, and well over £500 million in cuts, staff are already reporting that workload pressures are affecting their physical and mental health. This will only add to the stress of those who remain and may well impact services.
We reached out to the council to see if they had any response to this criticism, but they are yet to comment.
So while the council's employees look over their offers, the question still remains, is this enough to help ease the pressure off the council, or will they have to make more drastic measures to help them survive? Morgan Mitchener-Banks, Winchester News Online.
With the festive season fast approaching, nights begin to grow both longer and colder. For those without a home, this makes time on the street even more difficult, as finding a dry spot to spend the night becomes near impossible, with rough sleeping numbers increasing by 27% nationally in the past year. Jade Edwards-Lowe finds out how this affects the homeless community in Winchester.
As festive lights glow on the high street, many look forward to the season ahead. But for those without a home, the winter months bring growing challenges. With shop doorways filling with rubbish where some used to sleep, is Winchester doing enough to support its homeless?
From say 6 o'clock in the evening, there's nothing. You know, if you are peckish. We have a soup kitchen, which I'm thankful for. That's only open for about 2 hours.
Round here, compared to a lot of other towns, right, we've got a lot. Like, we've got the Trinity, you can go wash your clothes. You get a doctor that goes there twice a week. You've got a dentist that goes there once a month.
Rough sleeping has surged nationwide, with Winchester seeing a 15% increase in the past year. The wait time for a home has now reached highs of 4 years. Despite the challenges, some homeless individuals I spoke with say they look forward to a particular meal available every Saturday. Winchester Baptist Church opens its doors to everyone, from those seeking company to those trying to escape life on the streets. For a voluntary £1.50 donation, guests enjoy not only a hearty breakfast, but a place to feel safe.
There is a warm welcome. It's a warm space, but it's a safe space as well. And one of the things that we really want to do is make sure that it's a warm goodbye as well as a warm welcome.
coming in and having a chat and just having some food and having talks with people and just being in the environment with other people, you know, especially when you have mental health problems like I do, somewhere to come and chat to people and talk.
If you're going out and get your time out, you ain't got to go out for food or nothing. You know, you come here, cut of hours, have breakfast, have a hot drink, you chat with people, then go back feeling better.
Despite groups like Saturday morning breakfast being available at the Baptist Church in Winchester, for some, this support just isn't enough. Jade Edwards-Lowe, Winchester News Online.
Thousands of farmers gathered outside Westminster today to protest the government's proposed changes to inheritance tax. In the budget, the Chancellor announced that from 2026, agricultural assets over £1 million, which were exempt from the inheritance tax, will now be subject to a 20% levy. The government has defended the policy, saying that it will only affect a few farmers, but the National Farmers Union disputes those figures, saying the number is much higher. Our Rural Affairs correspondent, Rhys Huggett, is here to explain the situation.
This is the biggest show of strength by farmers since 2002. They've come from all across the UK to put pressure on the government to reverse this decision, which they believe would mean some family farms will struggle to pass on their estates to their children. The NFU have said that some of the family farmers will have to give up their estates. The number of farmers this will affect is disputed with the government, suggesting that only the wealthiest 500 estates would pay more in tax. But the NFU has estimated that up to 70,000 farms could be affected. The NFU have gathered almost 2,000 of its members, with a further 10,000 registered to attend a larger event today. The government has defended their position, saying that those with the broadest shoulders will have to pay more. NFU President Tom Bradshaw told the BBC, "These are people's livelihoods we are talking about," and went on to criticise the government's ability to plan for the future. The Shadow Environment Secretary, Victoria Atkins, has said that the Labour government has delivered a budget of broken promises, which is killing British farming.
Now, two journalism students from the University of Winchester had a very exciting weekend, going all the way to Cardiff for the Community Radio Awards. Molly Keane has all the details, not only about the ceremony, but also on the importance of choosing to listen locally.
From Winchester to Wales. This weekend, the Community Radio Awards took place in Cardiff. This huge celebration of non-mainstream radio meant that individual people and programmes could be recognised and rewarded for their contribution to their communities.
Tonight, students from the University of Winchester have the opportunity to win a Community Radio Award for their work contributing to a general collection of radio programmes.
This year, there was a special category dedicated to general election coverage. One finalist was NLive's Vote 24 radio programme, which was ran entirely by students from BJTC certified journalism courses, all based at different counts across the country. The competition was incredibly close.
So the Silver Award goes to Vote 24 radio programme, NLive Radio.
Community radio is more important now than I think it's ever been. The world we live in now and how sort of torn and troubled it is in places, and the value and the power of community radio to champion communities, be a voice and a platform communities, particularly for communities and individuals that nobody else is really talking about or giving them platform.
Although the university programme didn't quite get the gold, every student has walked away beyond proud to secure silver. Molly Keane, Winchester News Online.
While the government are prioritising economic growth, many businesses fear for their livelihoods. With negative national indicators, many wonder what comes next. Beatrice Beresford with more.
The recent budget was supposed to encourage growth, but not everybody sees it that way. For example, business leaders point to an increase in minimum wage and national insurance contributions as being a threat to growth. Of course, these changes won't come into play until April, but the impact is already being felt. In its latest report, the Office for National Statistics have revealed that unemployment is on the rise. But what does this mean for students? Well, due to the increase on employers' outgoings, businesses might be more reluctant to take on staff, Last year, 55% of students were doing part-time work while studying to support themselves financially. But due to the rise in unemployment and taxes on businesses, it may become much harder to find work. In the last few hours, 80 of Britain's biggest retailers have signed a letter to the Chancellor highlighting their concerns with the budget. They warn the government's plans will result in job losses and higher prices, but the government have said that difficult choices had to be made, and it was investing billions to encourage growth in the economy. With unemployment in Winchester being almost half the national average, businesses in the cities hope that negative national trends will not be replicated here.
Has Winchester lost its charm? That's the question on the council's mind as early last week they addressed the increasing reports of drunken behaviour and theft in the city centre. But how is this affecting the weekly market? Jodie Kelly investigated.
When most people think of Winchester, they picture a vibrant city with historical roots and photo-worthy scenes. But according to the council, the city is equally known for its unsociable behaviour. Last Monday, former councillor Ian Tate told Winchester Town Forum that the city's reputation was being threatened.
Although Winchester is known as being one of the best places to live in this country, some residents think the city is losing its charm following increasing rates in unsocial behaviour, public drunkenness and crime.
It's people blackout drunk, shouting things, being like boisterous, then it definitely is incredibly off-putting, especially as a woman.
And then you get trouble in every town, so I wouldn't be part of a particular area, just
a bit merry. It's okay because some people can be really like nice to talk to, really civil, but when they've had a lot, and then it's like, especially as a woman, like if you're on your own, it can be like.
In his talk, Tate claimed that market stall owners had faced threatening behaviour and suggested that as a result they had lost business. However, some stall owners have told Winol that this is not the case.
What tends to happen is they know us, they know the market traders, and they don't want to get involved with a problem with that because they make problems with one, they make problems with all, and they want to be around.
Winol reached out to the council for a comment on these earlier claims. However, we received no response. Speaking to one local woman who did not want to appear on camera for this report, she told us that she is a recovering alcoholic and how she now believes her so-called unsociable behaviour was nothing more than a cry for help. Jodie Kelly, Winchester News Online.
Taking a walk back in time, Olympia Camrich has spoken to Bitton's History Museum to find out how they preserve some of the oldest Hampshire artefacts.
Here in Bitton's local history museum, artefacts from Southampton and the surrounding areas are carefully preserved, where they are kept in cabinets or either put on display. From old posters to shop signs, telephones and radios, only one question remains: where does the society get them from?
People will bring in all sorts of things that are not necessarily dedicated to Bittern, but there'll be old tins that they found at the back of the cupboard or in the shed. We rescue them and put them on display. And then, of course, when people come and have a look round, they'll say, oh, I remember that from years ago. And there's quite a bit of nostalgia involved.
This is a wonderful thing, this museum that we've got, because it's unique. It's something that a lot of places don't have. And it's all the memories from the 30s, 40s and 50s. The things that people see is an eye-opener.
Members here at Bitton History Society are doing its best to preserve the suburb, with artefacts like this one scattered all around me. Most artefacts here in the shop are donated by older generations, who are concerned that maybe their heritage won't be remembered.
I'm a bit concerned that I've got nobody to pass these on to, because I'm on my own, and I just don't want them to be destroyed. So I knew the society here do things. So I've come in and said, would you like them? Which he said yes, so they'll be preserved for a bit longer. That will be passed on now to somebody else, and that they won't lose that information. That's the only thing I worry about, my heritage and the information of the area where I come from.
Whether you are new to your city or have lived there your whole life, preserving its history builds knowledge, paving the way for generations to come. Olympia Camrich for Winol News Online.
As winter approaches, drivers are dealing with more challenging road conditions. Elliot Norton travelled to Thruxton Race Circuit, where they were helping drivers in need.
Driving a car at any time of year presents its fair share of challenges, but as the winter months roll in,
Icy conditions and reduced visibility mean that drivers will need to take extra care when behind the wheel. It's estimated that crash levels rise up to 23% during the winter months, as many drivers are simply not used to the challenging road conditions. But how can drivers learn to deal with these challenges when for most of the year weather is good and the roads are clear? Well, that's where Thruxton's Skid Pan experience comes in. The driving experience offers to teach valuable car control techniques. But how exactly does it work?
We have a polished concrete surface surrounded by a high grip asphalt area, and it's basically the runoff area. So as you go down the skid pan, you can practice all the slides you want. So we have understeer, oversteer, four-wheel steer, we can drift, all right, we can do anything we want. Hopefully they will go away with the skill sets that they can understand what is happening to the vehicle, and when it does happen, they can do something about it.
I reached out to the AA to see if they thought enough is being done to teach drivers how to deal with tricky conditions. They said,
"We believe those learning to drive should develop their skills in a variety of conditions before getting behind the wheel."
As autumn ends and winter begins, visibility will be decreased and roads will become more treacherous. Skid pan experience or not, drivers will need to take care and drive safe. Elliot Norton, Winchester News Online.
Researchers at the University of Winchester are looking for personal stories from men suffering from a unique prostate condition. It's called benign prostatic enlargement, or BPE, and it affects around 3 million men in the UK and is most common in those in over 50 years old. Over 200 schools in England and Wales have been closed due to snow, but here in Hampshire it is yet to fall in many places. But people in Winchester might be feeling quite nippy over the next few days, with some temperatures possibly dipping down to as far as -4. Hampshire bus operator Blue Star has launched a new night service. Students, nighttime workers and late-night revellers will now be able to travel between Winchester and Southampton until the early hours of the morning. Lenny Teague boarded the service to find out more.
The operator has introduced a new night bus route that runs between Winchester and Southampton in the early hours of Saturday and Sunday mornings. Running through Chandlersford and Otterbourne, Blue Star's Night Star service aims to help different people travel through the night.
So it's not aimed at one particular group, it was devised around people who are going out for leisure, whether going for a pub or for drinks or just for dinner, also for people who are going to work, actually people going to and from work at that time.
The service has picked up some happy passengers so far, with plenty of people making use of it, but there have also been worries there is not enough to keep the bus running.
I mean, personally for me, it's great because it takes me home. It's where I need to be. Could be a waste of resources. I mean, like, there's 2 of us getting on the bus when there could be about 100 people, but for me, I love it.
Blue Star have confirmed that the service is receiving good use, with around 50 passengers a night, a number that is increasing. There have also been concerns about the safety of passengers, considering Southampton has consistently been ranked as the most dangerous area in Hampshire. However, Blue Star have acted on this.
Our drivers are trained, they're well trained on, when they first start with us on an ongoing basis on de-escalating any conflicts, and they're pretty good at that generally. If there's anything they can't deal with, they should either ring the police or they can ring our control room.
Despite some conflicting views, this night bus route is certainly helping out the people who need it most. Southampton and Winchester are now even more connected than before, even while most of the county sleeps. There will still be concerns about this route, however, particularly with safety problems. But for now, people are enjoying it. Lenny Teague, Winchester News Online.
And still to come this afternoon, red cards galore at Winchester City. And a well-known band from Liverpool are in town.
This does feel quite familiar, doesn't it?
But first, let's hand on over to Rebecca Perez-Taylor on our sports desk.
There was a test of character at the weekend for Winchester City when they faced Sittingbourne, looking to get through to the 3rd round of the FA Trophy for just the 2nd time in their history. Jacob Reiner was reporting at the match.
In a high-tension cup tie, Winchester's Luca Chilwell struck first, with a delightful dink over Harley Earl. Winchester looked dominant first half, with a second effort smashing the crossbar. But after the half-time whistle, Winchester kept putting themselves under pressure, with a needless headlock leading to a penalty, From then on, it felt like men against boys. Striker Mitchell May converted comfortably. Winchester's players couldn't escape the blaring away fans all game, who sang non-stop for the whole 90 minutes. But no amount of noise could justify the actions of Dan Bradshaw, who pelted a ball at a fan's head during a lapse in play. This led to a fight between both teams, resulting in 3 red cards, 2 being for Winchester and 1 for Sittingbourne's goal scorer Mitchell May.
I scored as well though. Watch when we win.
May's cockiness proved to be justified. Despite Winchester clinging on with 9 men to reach penalties, a crucial first penalty miss handed Sittingbourne the advantage as they won the shootout 5-4, reaching the 3rd round for the first time in their history. Winchester manager Craig Davis had some harsh words for the officials, with the penalty decision being the turning point of the game.
I saw that there was nothing to see, so absolutely scandalous decision, but we've got to move on from that.
It's been a hotly contested game here today. Winchester started well, but in the second half, Sittingbourne took control after their penalty. Next up, Winchester face Heaven and Waterlooville at home, where they hope to get a better result. Jacob Rayner, Winol News Online.
It was a disappointing return to the league action for the Winchester Flyers on Sunday, losing 4-0 at home to Wycombe Wanderers. Elic McVie can take us through the action.
In an even first half, it was the visitors who had the first opportunity, this shot at goal being stopped by Sam Burt on 13 minutes. Just seconds later, the Flyers had their first chance, Laura De Silva failing to add to last week's hat-trick when her effort was blocked by the Wycombe defence. The away side looked certain to break the deadlock on the half-hour mark, but a last-ditch clearance from City's Emily McDonough kept the game at 0-0. Winchester's resolve was eventually broken shortly after the restart, this pinpoint ball being met by a smart finish from Wycombe's Emma Kassem. Emma Pearman's side had a mountain to climb if they were to salvage anything from this one, and with 15 minutes left they were dealt a devastating blow, another excellent delivery being met by Kassem for her 2nd goal of the afternoon. Things went from bad to worse for the Flyers when this corner from Jessica Watkins found its way straight into the back of the net, much to the surprise of everyone inside the stadium. And if there were any hopes of a late Winchester comeback, those hopes were swept away when Kassem bagged her 3rd of the game and Wycombe's 4th. The Chairgirls ecstatic as they took all 3 points back to Buckinghamshire.
Once the 2nd goal goes in, 3rd goal goes in, suddenly it just becomes a bit of, a completely different game. Was it a 4-0 game at the end? Probably not, but ultimately they were quite clinical, they were quite ruthless, they took their chances where perhaps us in the first half we didn't.
So a defeat for the Flyers on their return to league action. They'll look to get a better result next Sunday at home to Chelsea. Elliot McVie, Winchester News Online.
Elsewhere in the FA Trophy, AFC Tottenham booked their place in the 3rd round after a comfortable 2-0 win away at Lowes. They will now face Biggleswade Town in the 3rd round. Farnborough bowed out of the cup, falling into a 3-0 loss against Salisbury. In the National League, Eastleigh and Hartlepool draw 0-0 in a mid-table clash. Aldershot Town won a point away at Gateshead, drawing 2-2 thanks to the goals from Josh Barrett and Jake Barham. In the WSL2, Southampton women played Newcastle in a historic weekend for women's football, as all games in the 1st and 2nd division were held at the men's ground for the first time. Southampton were to be left heartbroken on the long journey back, however, as they conceded a last-gasp equaliser from Diana Cooper, which rescued a point for the Lady Magpies. That's all we have time for on sport this week. Back to you, Isabel.
Thank you, Rebecca. Southampton has just held its Countdown to Christmas event, which included performances from the street theatre acts and musicians such as Sydney Christmas. Alexandra Stapleton tells us more from the Winchester Christmas tree.
Thanks, Izzy. This weekend, Southampton turned into a winter wonderland, with many activities taking place all over the city. Former Britain's Got Talent winner Sydney Christmas took to the stage on Friday to perform songs from her album and also those she performed on the show. I caught up with Sydney a couple of days before she performed to see how she was feeling about the day.
Absolutely. I'm well excited, and I get to sing quite a few songs. It's not like a quick thing, so yeah, I'm sure I'll feel at home on the stage by the end of it. I'm going to be singing a couple of the BGT ones. I'll put that in, and then there's a couple on the album, and there's a couple that are not on the album, which is cool. But yeah, which are just fun covers to do. I think the audience will like.
That's all from me. Back to the studio.
Winchester's Christmas lights have been switched on for the festive season with a colourful event in the city centre. Molly Keane was there.
Bright and bold, the Christmas light switch-on has returned to Winchester, kick-starting the festive season. The annual switch-on took place outside the Guildhall, where local hero George Hatt, who suffers from an aggressive and incurable form of brain cancer, was nominated by the public to play a key role in the big reveal.
They've raised over £20,000 for the brain tumour charity. Hats off to George campaign. Winchester, are you ready to continue the party?
The event, hosted by Heart Radio's Johnny Mear and organised by Winchester Bid, included a lot of festive fun for all the family.
Visitors will not only be able to see the Christmas lights as they're switched on for the first time, but will also be able to visit attractions such as giant snow globe.
Visitors enjoyed special Christmas performances from groups such as Winchester A Cappella and Love Soul Choir.
Oh, it's been phenomenal. There's been so many people out. The place has been so busy. It's great to see Christmas coming to Winchester. Everybody's been so excited. Everyone's been so full of joy tonight, and it's just been fun all round.
With the Christmas market returning at the end of the week, there are plenty more Christmas events to look forward to. Molly Keane, Winchester News Online.
And finally, Winchester was taken for a trip down Penny Lane as a tribute to one particular band took the spotlights at the Theatre Royal. Kieran Tibbett took the long, winding road to take in all the action.
Who said one of the world's most iconic bands could never make a return? Winchester is in for a treat, as the Beatles are in town. Sort of. This does feel quite familiar, doesn't it? The Beatles' complete tribute band have been here, there and everywhere, and are one of the youngest tribute bands that are rising to fame.
Well, three of us, we were brainwashed by our dads into the Beatles from an early age. And then I convinced him over there to join us.
I was brainwashed by you.
Yeah.
You've got to watch everything, see like every little leg movement he does here and there. But yeah, it's worth it when it all comes together. And
we're thrilled to have the Beatles complete here. I mean, they're an iconic band in the 60s, so what better way than to celebrate their music by having Beatles complete here?
The show's about to begin. Let's come together and enjoy some music. Don't let me down, guys. Their sellout performance in Winchester quite literally took the audience on a magical mystery tour. But which song stood out the most?
My favourite song is Let It Be. I just really like that song.
Hey Jude at the end, and Here Comes the Sun, poignant meaning for us. So great lads, great show.
I wish they'd played Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. That's my favourite, but I loved all the songs. They're all brilliant.
What tribute band will we see hit the Winchester stage next? Kieran Tibbett, Winchester News Online.
And unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.